Imagine this. You're going out with your friends to a new fast food restaurant. You walk in and the smell of burgers grilling immediately hits you. Suddenly you feel like you've been starved for weeks and all you can think about is getting the biggest burger possible. Your eyes scan the menu and fall upon the heart attack. 4 patties of beef, massive slabs of melting cheese, several strips of bacon, and 1,400 calories all in one towering sandwich. As you order, a friend looks over at you in disgust and leaves you wondering, why shouldn't I eat this absolute monument of beef? This scenario is all too common in the daily life of many. Globally, McDonald's alone sells around 70 burgers a second, says the short list. The question of why not has a simple answer: red meat. I'm here to convince you to eat less of it, for the sake of humanity. The culprit red meat is any meat that is red while raw. Beef, pork, bacon, veal, and lamb are all red meats. And I know that sounds delicious. Red meat is delicious. And as someone who loves eating it, I can say that I too was skeptical at first. But as I found out, the red meat we're eating and the rate we're eating it at is actually contributing to many big problems, such as heart disease, mass animal abuse, and global warming. If we eat less red meat, we will have a dramatic influence on the many urgent national problems the current consumption causes. One of the most significant factors to why we should be eating less red meat is its contribution to heart disease, the #1 cause of death in the U.S. This and many other threatening diseases, such as cancer and diabetes, have been found to be caused by a red meat-heavy diet. The American Heart Association states that, in general, red meat has more saturated or bad fats than other meats. A diet with high amounts of red meat can result in higher cholesterol, which can put you at a higher risk for heart disease. Though there are many good things in red meat, the amount we're eating is actually hurting us. The average American eats about 222 pounds of red meat in a year, the equivalent of 109.4 million cows. The suggested amount by the American Heart Association is 34.2 pounds, a mere 15% of current consumption. If these statistics continue, heart disease will continue to be our leading cause of death. However, if we were to eat less red meat, we could lower those numbers. The suggested portion sizes are 2 to 3 ounces every other day, about the size of a deck of cards or your average burger. This doesn't seem like a very big change, it's because it's not. Simply changing our portion sizes could have a massive effect on our health and longevity. Many who've stopped eating red meat have reported having more energy, feeling less bloated, and losing weight. Put simply, eating less red meat means living better and living longer. And not only will eating less red meat make you healthier, but make the industry healthier as well. Another problem supported by red meat is the cruel industry it's derived from. Cows and pigs are bred in mass, often living in horrible conditions, in their own waste with no free space. PETA sources say they are fed antibiotics to make them lower maintenance and to make them grow unnaturally fast, often to the point where most animals can't walk. Veal is calf meat. The calves are raised in veal crates, meant to keep them from moving around and damaging the soft meat their muscles will become. In the end, they are killed and packaged efficiently with no real care for their well-being. The red meat industry is so popular, this happens on an industrial scale every day, which is why they are called factory farms. If we didn't demand so much red meat, the industry wouldn't have to produce livestock on such a large scale. This would mean more resources devoted to fewer animals and fewer factory farms, which would mean that law enforcement could cover more ground and find and stop the inhumane ones. The cycle could be slowed and conceivably stopped if we ate less red meat. Though this could mean a loss of jobs in the meat industry, it could also mean better jobs. Instead of employing lots of people to do lower-paying jobs, we would be employing fewer people to do higher-paying jobs. Overall, not only would eating less red meat slow a cruel meat industry, it would heal it. Cutting red meat intake would help the industry, but it could even help things on an even larger scale. The red meat industry supports global warming. Cattle produce methane, a greenhouse gas, with their waste every day. The climate experts of the Guardian newspaper state that methane is far more potent than CO2 as a greenhouse gas. This means that the meat industry is constantly funneling greenhouse gases even more influential than carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. If we were to eat less red meat, we would be supporting the industry less and therefore supporting global warming less. It could be said, however, that by eating less cows, are we leaving more cows to put more methane into the air? Well, yes, but only temporarily. If we buy less red meat, the industry will lose money if they stay at current production. Eventually, to stay in business, they would have to produce less livestock. By demanding less, they will be forced to supply less. This would decrease the amount of cattle being produced and the amount of methane going into the air. Eating less red meat could potentially make a huge dent in the global warming crisis. All of these urgent national problems I've mentioned could be severely remedied by a decrease in red meat consumption. That decrease starts with people like you making an educated decision. As someone who loves eating red meat, I know that asking you to stop entirely is a bit of a leap. I'm only asking you to eat less. Eating less red meat would lower the number of people dying to heart disease every year and make us healthier. It would slow down and possibly stop a cruel meat industry. Finally, if we ate and produced less cattle, we would be putting less methane into the air, therefore slowing global warming. So the next time you're about to order that 1,400-calorie beef Goliath, stop yourself. Try the normal burger, the one with one patty and less world-ending potential. There's a reason the other one is called heart attack.